For our first match in the lower bracket today, we will be saying goodbye to not one, not two, but 3 teams today, which is honestly sad because we've seen a lot of great stuff from all of the teams remaining.
Can't pick up the trophy if you still got other opponents left, right? It's all about the elimination games for me. I think this is where the rubber really meets the road.
Jake's like, this is sports. Teams get eliminated. It's the brutal reality of sports. There will only be one winner.
It's kill or be killed. It's a dog-eat-dog world.
Well, speaking of dogs, we do have 2 underdogs clashing right here. NTMR and NRG. Thank you, Jake, for providing that transition. That was served on a platter for me. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting matchup. I do want to dive deeper into what we've seen from those teams and our expectations for both of them moving forward. Let's start with a chat about NTMR here. NTMR, they're the band of friends. You know, like there were a lot of roster changes. They really just came together halfway through the season, but they have the synergy it takes to take it far.
Yeah, when it comes to the mirror match in this meta, they have looked really solid. They're getting aggressive. They're trusting each other. I think Zera and Seeker have been big performers on the DPS role all year long, and they've really come into their own. I mean, even in this match against Falcons, I think both were finding success, finding their opportunities, and you know, a lot of these maps came down to super close engagements. However, the challenge for NTMR is that I think this is almost certainly going to be the most different match they've played all tournament. I mean, NRG has refused to play the meta. They have a completely different perspective, and I don't think it's a crazy one. Like, NRG's strat actually does look pretty good to me. So this is going to be a big question mark for NTMR. Like, how much have they prepared for this? How much can you really prepare for a team that plays off meta? This is going to require some in-moment adaptation, and that's a new test for NTMR.
Yeah, it's a distinct style from NRG, and they're obviously playing something different. And it's quite an interesting composition we're seeing from NRG as well, bringing out the Junker Queen, but then also tree swapping over to the Sombra, which is a new reworked Sombra, of course. And they're putting a lot of pressure onto the enemy Mauga. We saw both against Crazy Raccoon in the upper bracket match, but also yesterday that they like to wait out for the enemy Mauga to use the overrun to get in, and then Tree likes to counter, utilize the hack, and then Sisters as well, where we saw Heesang in the earlier match. Heesang likes to flank, get around, try to find picks with the sticky bombs and the focusing beam. Sisters actually, he can go aggressive on like that, but he's also equally fine to sit back and use the sticky bombs and the focusing beam on the Mauga to capitalize on that hack onto the enemy Mauga. So when we watched yesterday's match, Vastola actually struggled because hence they didn't have that synergy. We've seen some of the Korean teams, they didn't have that trust to get deep into the backline. And so Vastola was kind of like left out to dry. And so there's a lot of responsibility onto the Mauga in this matchup to actually try to stay alive, not to like get exposed to the Sombra and the Echo at the same time, and the Junker Queen, of course, because that's going to be a lot of damage coming your way. Crazy Raccoons, they did a great job going aggressive, and so I think for NRG here, it's going to really be like, how can you deal with actually NTMR's aggression coming in? Because that is going to be kind of like the recipe, the proof for a NTMR to deal with NRG here.
And, you know, the ultimate cycle is really a lot different, right, when you bring out the Queen and the Sombra. I think a couple of key interactions to be aware of when these comps do match up is, number one, Mauga's cage fight. If you get that on the Junker Queen, it actually cancels her ultimate. It stops her in her tracks if she is casting the ultimate, and you cannot cast ultimate while you are caged by Mauga. So, you know, either between that and the rally, you know, threatening a potential stun, also Queen very vulnerable to that with the long windup on her ultimate. Queen really, the ultimate's wildly powerful. It shuts down a massive amount of healing coming in from the Brig and the Juno, but there's the threat of that ult being stopped by stuns, by lockdowns. On the flip side, the Sombra EMP does break Mauga's cage, right? So Sombra has been reworked. Not as good at like the stealthy backline assassination, but the ability to just frontline pressure and have a really powerful ultimate that breaks some of these tempo cycles, right? A lot of times with something like a rally, you feel invincible, and Mauga's cage so hard to fight into, but EMP can often really deny a lot of the utility of those ultimates or shut them out entirely outright. So teams have to adapt. They have to have a very different approach to how they play the Mauga comp to take down the Queen, and quite a few teams have fallen flat. Like Crazy Raccoon made it look easy, but I don't know if that actually really tells you anything. I sort of wonder, like, strategically, Crazy Raccoon could be outmatched and be on a bad strat, and you wouldn't know it because they might still dominate their opponent. So I do think NTMR shouldn't be overconfident in their strat. They may need to make swaps to get deeper into this match.
Do they have what it takes to make those swaps? How do you rank their hero pools or rate their hero pools?
Well, I'd say NTMR is in a pretty good situation because you can go aggressive if you want to, and you can bring out something like a Reaper and a Genji if you want to go aggressive, but equally, you can also put Seeker on the long-range hit scan if you'd like to do that. If you say that, like, okay, well, you're going to play Sombra and you're going to play Echo, then we're just going to take our time, actually, and play the long-range hit scan instead, maybe a Cassidy, something to put pressure onto the Sombra and the Echo at the same time. And so that is the kind of game we're going to see here. Does Nightmare, do they stick with the aggression and go in? Or are they going to say, well, NRG, if you're so happy sitting back and maybe like trying to put pressure on the Mauga, then we're happy to sit back too and trade that aggression maybe with, you know, an efficient hero like a Cassidy or an Ashe, for example.
I hope this is going to be one of those close games where we do see like them basically playing chess, where a lot of counter swapping or stratting is going to unfold in front of our very eyes. Do you feel like there is a favorite though, if I had to make you do predictions?
I mean, when these teams have clashed in the past, I feel Nightmare has been the stronger team, right? They've come together, they've won some clutch matches in recent memory. However, I think strategically, I'd rather be NRG right now, right? Like, as NRG, you're the team that has been playing against this Mauga comp all tournament long. You've been scrimming against it. You've kind of seen exactly what this strat can do. You really are aware of it. But for Nightmare, I mean, they probably have scrimmed NRG, but they've had to split their practice, right? They've been playing a ton of mirror. They've been really focused on opponents who are going to mirror them, and they've, you know, looked good at that. But now they're playing an opponent that almost certainly they haven't focused their preparation on. And so this is going to be a real test of not only the coaches, the ability for them to give guidance throughout the series, but also for the players to just feel what is not working, what needs to change, you know, who should swap. I think you're right. This is just maybe some DPS swaps can come out, but I think just as easily we could see something like a Kiriko see a little bit more play, potentially answering some of the threats from Sombra and Queen. In the end, I don't think there's any like definitive answer. Nightmare isn't going to have this solved. They're going to have to feel their way through this.
Yeah, I'd love to see some more new looks. I do feel like we've seen a lot of different kind of flavors from a lot of the teams thus far in the tournament, and we're only halfway through day 2. And speaking of things to look at, drops. I once more want to remind everyone to, you know, connect your Battle.net accounts to your Twitch accounts and earn rewards as you're watching your favorite thing. And it's not just us you can watch. No, you can also watch our co-streamers covering all the action. They have guests over there. They're having a good time. Everyone over there, like we can see them right from our stage. They are streaming all day long, and drops will be enabled on our co-streamer streams as well. And I mean, those drops, they're sick.
Today is the day of Torbjorn, but also like the actual
True.
red Dollahest. So it's like, you know, the real red. The red is the iconic Dollahest. That's what you want.
What is a Dollahest?
What is it?
It's a mystery.
Educate us.
It's a mystery.
In your own words.
There's so much.
That sounds like he doesn't know.
So
That's
much
what I'm
mystery
getting.
and lore behind
There's so much
It's the
history.
big unknown.
You know, Zoe, that's a
The
fantastic
real fun is finding
question.
out yourself. What do you think, I mean?
That's a fantastic question,
Yeah.
Zoe. It really makes me think. It makes me, you know, dive into a lot of
Swedish
possibilities.
people, we just love the red color. You know, the typical like Swedish red house.
Then
for
why
example.
is your flag not red?
Well, because yellow and
'Cause
blue
Denmark
is quite
took it?
quite pretty. I like the yellow and blue, don't you?
I know. I'm with it. I'm with it. You
And
know,
the red
it's
houses
pretty
are
good.
cute too.
Fair. Okay, you're making great arguments. I still don't know what the horsey means, but we'll find out. We send someone out into the crowd to solve the mystery for us. One mystery we also need to solve is which of these two teams is going to move forward and which of the team will be saying goodbye today. Let's find out and send it over to Golden Boy on our stage.
Thank you so much for that, Zoe. Yes, it is a classic NA clash here, and we're going to see who comes out on top. Winner moves on, loser goes home. Let's go ahead and bring out your first team. Make some noise, Stockholm, for Nightmare!
Certainly filling their opponents with dread. It is Nightmare. They may have been beaten down in their last match, but they stand here, backs against the wall, ready to defeat NRG one more time, or will they be upset?
And let's go ahead and bring out their opponents. You know them, you love them. It's NRG Shock!
NRG came into the tournament as underdogs, but they found a style that works for them, relying on Callan's Junker Queen. Is this enough to actually bring it against some of the better teams in the tournament, starting with Nightmare?
All right, folks, this is it. The teams are ready to go. Make sure you guys go and fist bump, take your seats as well, and let's get this show on the road. It's going to be a good one. We got Nightmare going up against NRG Shock.
Thank you very much, Golden Boy. It is time to get this one started. NRG Shock and Nightmare. By the way, all of NRG Shock basically live with Infected. So they're on their Winthrop University.
Yeah.
They know each other really, really well. And both, of course, fall in very tough matches in that upper bracket to this elimination game.
Yeah, and this has been an awesome kind of a little bit of a rivalry, right, throughout the year, right, where we're looking at who is going to be like that second best team in North America behind the Toronto Defiant, and now we get a confirmed, definitive answer with this match.
And because NRG Shock got eliminated by fluffy aimers, of course, in that stage 4, these teams just passed by each other.
Yeah.
Never really had the chance to play one another. Well, we know NRG Shock are not so invested in playing these Malga comps ad nauseum, right? They've really been trying to move away and work in some tank picks that maybe suit Infected a little bit better, but when it comes to playing that style, they can do it.
Yeah, I mean, the Queen has been a character, right? Jungle Queen that has been pretty decent against the Maga. And then also with some of the Sombra things that they've been doing, right? With Tree playing that hero. It's been really interesting, like how Jake was talking about on the desk before. The Queen definitely has some opportunity against those Maga comps.
Yeah, Jake also talks about the Sombra, right? That utility to break up those cage fights from Malga potentially and make it a little bit harder to get that wombo in that brawl-style composition. We're headed off to Oasis first in this series, folks. And again, it is do or die from two of our most colorful North American squads. NRG Shock coming to this tournament. We hope to see a little bit more from them after their upper bracket run. Nightmare looked very, very good. Remember what they did to SSG? That was
Nightmare
wild.
looked awesome yesterday. So see if they can kind of continue that strong play here against a team that they're also, look, they may not have played them recently, but also players, like you mentioned, that they are very comfortable, they know exactly kind of how they want to go about it.
Infected used to be on the squad.
Yeah.
You know, Tree also really shone in NRG's win in that upper bracket there, coming out as a player to watch in a game like this. Looks like we might actually get this Sombra look out of the gates, a chance to test the signature NRG composition against Nightmare. Here we go, folks, off to Oasis for the first map in this first of 3.
Yeah, and they'll play that Sombra with an Echo. Sombra is actually, you know, historically been actually pretty poor against Reaper, right? Reaper's like actually one of the characters that like doesn't really need the abilities as much, but when you can get the hacks onto the Maga, that's really the big winner.
You can deny his escape, right? And Reaper's mobility make him a bit more vulnerable, but in the end, it's going to be about Tree shutting down Infected where possible. Good damage already on the Malga here. NRG training very, very well. Getting a close-up fight, and there it is. Infected's the first to fall. NRG getting a lot of value out of this comp already.
I mean, look, you get hacked, you get hit with the virus, right? It did a lot of damage coming on in. You don't have the Stomp, don't have like cardiac overdrive, right? So it can be very difficult to make anything happen.
The virus on the Juno is very effective because it's kind of tough.
Yeah.
But I mean, frankly, your Brig doesn't want to be packing the Juno constantly.
No.
Juno can't heal herself, so that tick damage represents some real heal pressure on your backline.
This is also a little bit like Twisted Minds in the sense that like probably not a lot of people playing this type of play style, right? That NRG Shock is coming out and doing. So it's hard to actually kind of get a read on it, right? You're going to have to do it in real time.
In fact, he gets in though, nice little dive, but he is quite deep. The rest of Nightmare trying to get them, and Stizzes is behind him getting the damage, and he finds Sneaker first, and here's a dupe of a Malga. Into the stomp from Infected. Straight away, cardiac overdrive popped by Stizzes now, just trying to control Infected where possible, and Admiral's already down, and this is an orbital ray committed to the fight by Nightmare that gets some really limited value.
Oh, and it's going to be a huge EMP there, right? As they can move right back onto the point. Great EMP there from Tree. So you see how deep that Nightmare has to go, right? They've invested so many different things to even try and make it play for the point. And NRG Shock, they just back up a little bit. It's a nice dupe from Scissors, getting another tank out there with dupe in the Maga. And then, but the EMP, huge again.
Tree may not have that available to shut down a cage fight, for example, but Kellen's got a big ultimate in this fight. A rampage on multiple members of Nightmare, make them bleed out. The anti-heal is extremely relevant against Malga. Kellen's already trying to line up an angle here. Looking for Infected, tries to go for a chop there. The Sombra hacks are also coming in around the fight. Orbital Ray now in for Ultraviolet, and Seeker's going to fall first yet again. Infected's under pressure, hacked again and can't get away. Kellen pushes the front line up.
You see that the kill participation on Infected, as soon as he gets hacked, it is everybody focusing firing on that Maga and just deleting him. And look at this, they're going to actually play close up here. They're going to play with this Rampage right around the corner, try and get an early pick.
Kellen's going to wind it up. Okay, they're going to push onto him instead. This is a little bit messy now. Infected gets a long way ahead of the rest of Nightmare, but it's going to be a rally and play that Admiral's not able to do it to anyone else right now. Here's the swing inside the cage. Kellen using his kiosk to break up line of sight. Deny some of this damage away from Infected, but he does eventually succumb. And Nightmare on the back of that cage fight rally combo get themselves onto the points.
Yeah, that wasn't how Energy Shock wanted that one to go. So Kellen's kind of like hiding, right? And they're going to use this Rampage on a little bit of a flank. But when he kind of comes around the corner, he doesn't realize that there's still players coming out of spawn behind him. So he kind of gets trapped between two different sections of Nightmare. And then it's that cage with a rally coming from opposite directions. Really stops Energy Shock's plan right there. But you're going to have an EMP plus a Rampage here.
Here's the blade coming in. Zero trying to get something done here for Nightmare. Extend this lead a little more. He gets rid of Rack Attack and here's a Rampage coming out a bit belated, but it catches on to 4. CJ with the orbital ray. It's not enough. Here's an EMP after the fact that Seeker collapses. Infected doesn't have healing available to him, and Scissors dupes the Reaper. A lot of damage against that Malga, and NRG Shock clean up our first round.
4-player Rampage, right? You can see everybody's health bars start to just dwindle fast. And then even when that anti-heal gets off, they just an EMP on the opposite side. I mean, just brutal. And no way you're going to be able to live through that. As I mentioned, not a lot of people play this level of play. It's like when we watch Twisted Minds and people are trying to play against Ashe and Afara. And you're like, okay, like how do you kind of figure this one out? The Sombra is something we saw them bring out the other day, right? It was almost like a desperation. They looked pretty poor in their series and they bring it out towards the end. On Suravasa, and you're like, okay, this looks like it could be something. And then they kind of ran with it from there. As we do have a pause here. We'll get an idea of what's going on. Maybe another chair. It's been the theme of the weekend, the chair.
I've been coming over in Kellen's direction, I think. Quickly discussing with him.
This event's been the chair. I think when we're
building chairs, we're replacing chairs.
EWC, I want to say it was Funny Asher. I think his mouse died like 4 times. Yep. It was like, we haven't paused.
No, we had that. We had that in OWCS Stage 4. Yeah. His mouse died. He didn't plug it in. So we had to get another. Oh, he had to charge the mouse up briefly.
Look, when you go to sleep, just plug the mouse.
Yep, plug it in.
Yeah.
It's that easy, guys.
You wake up. It's good.
All right, we're back into the game here. Second round of Oasis. NRG Shock making this Queen comp look good, and Nightmare say, you know what? We're going to have a crack at that ourselves.
Yeah, with the Soldiers here. So you're going to actually just ditch the Reaper, right?
Such a good pick for Seeker, though.
Yeah, I mean, Seeker's tremendous on like any type of like, hit scan aim type hero. So maybe allows them to poke a little bit more at range, right? Create some separation between them and the Shock. And it's quite interesting. They actually dropped the Sombra here.
Yep, pick up the Cassidy instead. Well, there's no Malga here to disrupt. I can't believe we're watching a Queen mirror. That is wild.
Yeah, right.
Tree on the Cassidy, though. That's a pick to be feared. Seeker has a range advantage, though, of course, playing from this high ground here. And Infected only goes pretty low early on. CJ trying to keep him topped up here, but Admiral also takes a chunk of damage. We're playing around the pillars. Line of sight very important with these compositions for 2 hit scan players at large right now. It's Infected falling. Nightmare can't keep him standing. Seeker, despite having so much space to work with, has not been able to turn that into a kill.
No, I mean, not really able to kind of get like great lines of sight, right? He's putting down a little bit of damage here towards the end, but your tank gets bursted down right away. There's nothing your team can really do after that. Some cleanup here from the Shock, and they'll take that first point.
Saw Zero on the Genji for much of that previous round as well. It's definitely his go-to pick. I mean, he and Seeker probably both have their best heroes under their fingertips right now. The NRG Shock in this Queen composition look really well drilled, and Nightmare clearly weren't ready to deal with it in that previous round.
See how Nightmare attacks this, right? Orbital Ray for them, potentially use it to engage on the low ground. But look at this for NRG Shock, right? You're going to have a Deadeye plus a dupe, but there'll be Zero going in and taking out Rack.
Yeah, Scissors still holding on the dupe here, hasn't had to use it yet as Admiral and CJ both down. Nightmare without any supports right now. Zero trying to salvage, and without any healing, Nightmare have been able to turn this around. Pure DPS from Nightmare.
Yeah, it's an Orbital Ray from both sides there. But it's really, Zero going crazy on the Genji, like dashing through a few players. It's an overclock there from Seeker. Yeah, now, I mean, didn't even have the Blade the last fight, right? Gonna have it here now. The Rack attacks rally, though, to answer that. Admiral a little bit far behind.
That rally is gonna be crucial. Zero is playing around it, but see a stun from the Brig could be instant death for the Genji here. Posturing for NRG Shock for the time being. Want to see the timing on this rally here for Rack Attack if you might use it aggressively. Deadeye to start things off for Tree. This is going to make a little bit of space now. You can see the Juno of CJ hiding behind that pillar. Now it's going to pop out. Going to be a Rampage throwing in straight away. It catches on to 2 Infected. Has to back away here. Nightmare have a chance to heal up. They're all trying to recommit to this high ground, and in comes Infected. Oh, what a shield bash! That's unreal from Rack Attack. Rampage cut short. Zera's hit with a mag grenade there and can't get much more done. He's able to find Tree at least, but that'll be that. CJ eventually bleeds out though. NRG still trying to flip the point now. They need to deal with Seeker. And they take care of him.
It was so well, I was going to say it's so awesome. It's not awesome for Infected, but it's awesome for us to watch that as Rack comes up with a huge bash. You should see Infected. I mean, he knows that that's really the only thing that can happen there to dislodge that Rampage, and Rack Attack times that perfectly.
And Nightmare feel like they have to go for it there after they shake off the anti-heal themselves. They drop off the high ground and Infected gets interrupted. So now we're about even here in our second round. Seeker backs away and getting close to that overclock, is aware that Scissors is looking to poke and prod.
I think he's worried about Scissors getting really aggressive, right? Like maybe a few players coming in from the front.
There's that
a little bit
overclock.
of a flank.
Seeker pops it straight away now to the high ground, does catch a hit on a tricky switch to the Sojourn previously as well. Nobody really wants to step out into line of sight of Seeker right now, and Kellen just gets bombarded by the rest of Nightmare.
No way you're going to be able to keep Kellen alive there, right? It's Orbital Rate, everybody there from Nightmare basically on the low ground. Kellen's kind of playing off on his own as Nightmare flips the point back. For Shock, let's see how they approach this, right? You're going to have an advantage here with obviously the Orbital Rate.
And they can't shut it down with a Rampage anti-heal from Infected, so NRG Shock are poised to be the favorites in this fight.
Also, one of the, when the Nightmare got hit with the Rampage the last time, Scissors actually duped the Queen, so they were scared of another Rampage.
They almost lost Rack Attack, he's so low, Scissors also goes down! Orbital Ray is only going to have 3 players to heal up here, and that is a huge loss of value for NRG, and maybe the round's slipping away.
Yeah, I mean, Orbital Ray is such an impactful ultimate that it feels like if you're going to invest it into a fight, it's a must-win. Especially in this type of scenario, right? There's nothing to answer on the other side. I mean, Nightmare just kind of outplays.
95 and counting, NRG Shock have to put it together here. With one on overclock, maybe you do. Seeker though wants to get aggressive early, start up, push through the hyper ring. It's Rack Attack under pressure in the corner, but help comes. The cavalry arrives as Ultraviolet gets the torpedo elimination now, and Kellen gets that ultimate online. NRG Shock come up with the goods when it counts, and Nightmare will have a slim chance to stay alive in Oasis.
So we're going to see this yet again, right? Zero with a Blade. Infected will end up probably with a Rampage here.
Is that enough?
Shock pushing up, but Rack Attack with that rally yet again. See if he can cancel that Rampage. That would be brutal for Infected.
It's the Shock. Will Lightning strike twice? About to find out. It's Seeker switching over to the Tracer now, probably just for that mobility to get overtime secured. Doesn't mean, it means he doesn't have that hit scan pressure right now. Again, just prodding. Sees Ultraviolet on a chance to go on behalf. Oh my goodness, he's done it again! Zera knocks back midway through that Dragon Blade and can't get value. Kellen though gets connected onto by the Rampage. It may not be enough though. Admiral and Seeker stand up, but eventually Kellen bleeds out as Infected. That ultimate makes the difference in the end. Now you've got to deal with the Queen. Nightmare are in control of the point, and Scissors is so low, Tree can't touch! And we're going to a third round.
Rack got the first stun. He got it on a zero with the Blade.
Bro.
Didn't have another one, though, right away for that Rampage that came on through.
Yeah, Chill Bash not quite what it used to be.
Yeah. Nobody wants it to be what it used to be. But Kellen he gets hit with that Rampage. And just even hitting the Queen, right? Getting rid of the Queen is enough there to secure the round for Nightmare. As it seems like both teams will continue on with this Sojourn.
That was an exciting round. Both teams.
Yeah,
Double Amalga. Not interested right now. Will it be a Sombra from Seeker?
I was going to say, that would be a little bit of a curveball.
Does a LA Valiant Seeker throwback?
So Seeker's Sombra is actually really good. We've seen it in the past, obviously not recently. But if they wanted to run basically the similar comp that Shock can do, they definitely have the players to do it.
Well, we're in the Bizarro world here. We have a Creed mirror. Kellen goes in. Nice Infected goes for a swing. Just trades in the front line for now. A good amount of odd charge already for the Junker Queen. Seeker says, nope, this is my ledge, folks. NRG Shock forced to play from the outside of the circle.
Yeah, Shock tries to play for this high ground, but they can get bullied out by Nightmare. So they're going to rotate all the way around and take this. But Nightmare, actually, they're going to go and try and chase this. They want to deny entry to the point.
Seeker, though, still trying to maintain good long sight lines here. Bit of safety for him. Slides up forward. Kellen there gets hit by a wayward torpedo now and is in the middle of the pergola. Goes for a swing, but might have overextended a little bit here. Rack Attack also going quite low. Kellen has time, though, to get top back up. Nightmare are looking elsewhere. Okay, Whipshot's going to deny the axe swing. Oh my god, that's messy. Focusing beam, though, from Scissors gets rid of Infected, but it's a bleed out on Tree that ends up claiming the Sojourn.
Trying to get any type of axe swing here from Kellen. It seems like just swinging and missing there. He's getting knocking back by Admiral.
Zera's not ready for that.
Yeah, that is risky there.
I get the idea. Pop in behind the Queen, also farm that ultimate, but I don't think he's aware that
Yeah.
Scissors is just waiting for that opportunity.
Yeah, you had also lost a few players from Nightmare, so not really an opportunity there, but Nightmare does, I mean, look at this. I mean, Admiral already basically had a rally, just doing a ton of healing here early on.
CJ, known as one of the best NA Junos at the early stage of the meta. Big part of Nightmare going so far in that North American stage 4. Dash there in from Zero, comes from that off-angle Ultraviolet's quite low. He's actually going to pop the orbital race straight away, but CJ reciprocates. He goes down as Tree finds him over the railgun. Now it's getting messy. Kellen's holding onto his rampage here. There's a running from Admiral, and there it is. Anti-heal on Infected. Kellen's able to finish him off with an axe swing, and Zera looks a little stilly out in the open with this blade. So low, eventually gets brought down. And NRG link 2 big fights together.
Yeah, and that's a brutal one for Nightmare. I mean, you have an advantage in terms of rally. You kind of use it a little bit late, right? You have both orbital rays come down. You've already lost like a player or two. Then the rally comes down, and it's not enough to keep everybody like topped up or keep everybody alive. And then you also invest the blade. This gives Shock a little bit of an advantage, right? Now you have a dupe here, so you can dupe whether it's like one of the supports or Queen, right? Just kind of go for a double rampage. But it's Rack Attack's rally. That'll be huge here.
Okay, it's a lot to ask regularly to shut down that Queen ultimate. Rack Attack will be looking for it. Scissors has to do there. He was too low. In comes a Rampage. It catches. Rack Attack found the rally, but the anti-heal is a problem. Scissors dupes an extra brick for the healing output for NRG Shock, and it buys them time to get rid of both DPS from Nightmare. Admiral falls to Tree, and NRG Shock looks so good with this setup. They were ready for him.
Just got one more fight. It might be a little bit of a junk fight, right? You're going to have some players switching over to heroes, just trying to get back to the point.
What a widow, okay. That's relevant. Admiral does get a touch. Will it be enough to score that overtime? It might have come a little bit too early. Here's the wrecking ball from Infected. Oh, that's a throwback and a half. Not a troll pick, folks. This is an Infected special. However, it's going to be a lot to ask you to salvage the round. Rack Attack goes in. Seeker's forced to recall there. The threat of the brick is too great. It's going to be Ultraviolet, though, rolled into Infected. Tries to isolate the Juno. Now drops into the middle of the map. Doesn't have adaptive shielding. It's on cooldown for 3 more seconds, and Kellen capitalizes. Seeker now will fall. Got to be hard to keep this overtime going. It's all down to Zero, and NRG Shock on their composition of choice. Find the solution.
So you got really good value out of that rally from Rack Attack towards the end. You had a huge advantage in terms of the ultimates, right? It was Nightmare that kind of dumped everything in that previous fight. Rally, Orbital Ray, Blade. Then you just had your Rampage, and with the rally on the other side, you also had a dupe of the Brig, right? To be able to kind of help heal. Although Scissors was using it just to stay alive, but still ends up getting a Brig. It's not the worst thing in the world. So you're able to sustain on through that, and then you don't even really get a last fight.
I mean, having an extra whip shot for displacement of Jungle Queen, for example, is quite relevant in that situation. For 2 players hit by the Rampage, Rack Attack is bleeding out, anti-healed, still goes to the rally. You tried to land a shield bash anyway, and it buys you enough time to get rid of the DPS of Nightmare. I feel Nightmare looked really good in the Malga comp, right? We saw them do that, but here they say, we don't want to, we don't have to. But they might consider going back to it on some other maps here, as they do lose out in their form of the mirror.
Right, but I think, though, if you have Nightmare go to this comp that we're seeing here, right, with that Malga back in the mix, you're just going to have Shock play the same thing. And we saw it yesterday in Cervasa, we've seen it now for a while, where they're bringing the Sombra with the Junker Queen. And at least early here in this series, it seems like it's given Nightmare some trouble.
Absolutely, and despite Seeker and Zera being on their best picks, they get to play Genji Sojourn here. In fact, he gets to play Knock Malga. Feel like it puts him in a pretty decent position for Tree. Tree is very good. You see him switch over to the Sojourn after seeing Seeker get so much value out of that pick. He looks excellent. The overclocks are really relevant. There's like a lot of railgun. They're not headshot kills, but on a Juno that takes a fair bit of just like splash damage from these fights, being able to finish her off as she just sort of floats in the air is a huge deal. Getting her off the table, putting a team down to brick heals only is massive.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about Tree and his kind of like arrival at the upper echelons of competitive Overwatch for a while now, right? So to see him come here to the World Finals, be able to put on a great performance so far, it's what the fans want to see. As we take a look at some of the stats here from map number 1, and although it's NRG coming out on top, it looks like heavily favored Nightmare there.
I'm feeling like that might. I'm not even sure if that is accurate. If that is pretty ridiculous here, but. Either way, NRG looked very, very good, and they came into this tournament saying, we kind of got gifted a chance to compete at the World Finals, right?
Yeah.
They needed Nightmare to beat TSM, and they did. And after they said, put it behind us, we're now going to focus on this tournament. They lost I mean, they lost to Fluffy Ambers. They got knocked out of stage 4. So, like, not happy with that result here, but they've really come a long way. The boot camp in Sheffield, I want to say it was for these guys, has been pretty valuable, and they're looking exciting. My question is going to be, like, when these teams make it through these matches, whether it's NRG or Nightmare that make it through, they're still going to be forced into Amalgam Mirrors at some point later.
Do you think so, though? Like if NRG Shock continues to play Queen with Sombra, I don't know why they would be forced into Amalgam Mirrors.
We just saw what happened in the upper bracket, obviously with Falcons and Crazy Raccoon. I do think they're like a degree to which they're not going to do a Nightmare and be like, oh, we don't have to play Amalgam. Let's play something else, I think. I think the map choice here as well is going to be super relevant. Circuit Royal is picked here by Nightmare.
That's quite interesting. I mean, so we've seen them in the past, like have Seeker on like long-range hit scan here. So I wonder if that's what they're kind of going for. Maybe, you know, create some space. Maybe try and force like Tree to play something like a Sojourn, right? Instead of like, okay, fine, we don't want to deal with the Sombra, like force him to play something like that. And you feel like, okay, maybe that puts them on a little bit more even footing, right? Because Seeker's tremendous on those long-range hit scans.
The first forms of the Juno comp that we actually saw happen, I think because Asia was allowed to use her a little earlier, we're on this map and it was in like a Brig shell, right? It was like Juno Brig, there was like Genji in the mix there as well. It was on Circuit Royal specifically. So I don't think we're going to see that, but it is the kind of map where you kind of can't always play that same level of brawl because of that inherent high ground advantage often to defenders and these really wide open sight lines. You should expect to see some attempts at spawn camp early if these guys are going to be playing these brawl style comps. So I'm curious to see what we come out with. Wrecking Ball not an option on this map. No. Really, it's one of the worst maps for football, so.
Yeah, no, this is like, yeah, I don't know if you could have a worse. I mean, there probably is, but one of the worst, Wrecking Ball maps there probably is in the pool. So, at least right now, looks like it'll be the Shock on defense to kick things off. So, they'll actually have Tree not play the Sombra here. They're going to play the Sojourn. Just a little bit of a safer pick probably here at the start.
Nightmare hovering this map comp, and one of the reasons we do see that sometimes is because there's the expectation of Pharah, because, you know, you don't always have the DPS that can answer her. I do think Echo is probably enough, but at longer ranges, there's a lot of expanse to cross here as Echo, which can leave you vulnerable if your opponent is playing hit scan. Tree is going to start on the Sojourn here, so it will be the Queen, Sojourn, Echo look for NRG Shock.
Yeah, and I wonder if Nightmare decides to make any changes, like once they kind of see what Shock is running, whether it's kind of, you know, ditch that hog yet again and go with the Queen is still trying to make some.
Huh? Whoa, what is this?
Okay.
The Reinhardt comp with May and Bastion. That's what Admiral was telegraphing with the Baptiste hover. We're going to talk about it, man.
Yeah, so we're going to see how they're going to play around this, right? You're using that Rhine shield. Obviously, move up. Look at this, though. Kellen right out of the back. It's going to be the Immortality field. That's really nice, though. The Immortality field comes down. Tree deals with it, allows Kellen to pick up that kill.
Kellen very much the cat amongst the pigeons here, but Sarah is able to neutralize him. CJ, though, does fall. This is all delaying Nightmare to some degree, though. Infected wants to push up and swing. No ping for him, though, as his defense from NRG might be able to solidify. Sneak is left out in the open now. And I don't like the Bastion matchup against the Sojourn without the Ryan shield. It's very tough.
No, I mean, he just lacks all mobility, right? So I do not like that matchup here. Is Tree building up a railgun shot. See if he can find ahead. It's going to be everybody kind of hiding here for Nightmare as see how they go around this corner, trying to get this Bastion in position, right? Maywall players off. Ryan kind of charging in, getting the Bastion here. Putting down some big damage. But if you can kite this, right, then the Bastion becomes weak. You know there's a period of time where he's not going to be able to put out that big damage.
That Ryan shield's getting quite low. That's why Infected is giving some ground here. Nightmare needs some time to regroup and make a fast push around this corner with the Hyper Ring.
And we'll see if the Shock can kind of play around that, right? After Bastion goes into the wheels mode, there's like, you know, a 10-second window where it's not going to see a lot of damage.
Blizzard thrown out there. You've got to respect the damage from Tree, though. He finds an overclock and Seeker needs to skirt around the edge of the Blizzard that doesn't appear to catch anyone, really. Admiral's going to fall here as CJ did have an orbital ray, but Nightmare are just not benefiting from it. And Scissors doomed to Bastion. That's wrong. Oh, he got an ultimate as well. Okay, dude. Oh, man. Stone cold, by the way.
You forget how fun Echo is when you just see the dupes on the Maga over and over again. You get the dupe of the Bastion there. Sick stuff there from Scissors as NRG Shock is not bothered by this whatsoever on the defensive side.
Now, again, there's not a lot you can stop Shadow with on this team, but NRG Shock are playing so dispersed. Look at them here. Look how spread they are. You can also slide away from a potential shadow. Kellen's probably going to get hit by it, but you're priced into that if you're playing Queen here. Here they come. Here's the shadow that gets thrown in. Kellen does get hit by it, and bam! He's exploded. CJ's able to find the torpedo connection here as Finka backs up. They're trying to look over towards the brick, pushing into them with the orbital ray. NRG Shock still won this fight, and they win it without their tank.
Well, I mean, who needs a tank when you have a Brig with a rally inside of orbital ray? Not really needed there for a tank. So now
Okay,
a minute to go.
we're
You have
done.
changes here for Nightmare. They're completely done with this. You're going to have Seeker go over and play Sojourn. You're probably still sitting with the Mei. The Mei obviously is split off the Queen, still pretty good. You're also getting very close to Blizzard. You probably don't have an opportunity to build something else. But then we have the Kirito coming in. So this is going to be just for the cleanse because they know the Rampage is coming on the other side.
Yeah. Well pointed out, Matt. That's been read into by Nightmare here. Can they cleanse off that anti-heal when push comes to shove? Kellen gets forward, Stick is very, very low. He's going to back away behind and disrupt the shot. Infected wants to get ahead, gets the knife onto the Brig, but Rack Attack doesn't seem too bothered. Another dupe here for Scissors around the corner. No Bastion option this time, but maybe Queen. Yeah, it's going to be a Duke Junker Queen now as the orbital ray comes down from CJ. Tree still keeping a respectful distance away from the fight, and CJ just floats into his line of sight. Speaker ends up getting caught out in the end by that Rampage. Nightmare had to go forward. It's a Blizzard thrown back behind them, but they've lost Admiral here. This is getting a little bit dicey. And Infected goes down. There's no follow-up for that Blizzard, and there's 10 seconds left in the round.
Oh, this Nightmare comes out with a cheeky cup there at the start, right? That Bastion in the mix.
There's no
it
touch
does
here.
not work out. There is not even going to be a touch.
Oh,
Nightmare does not even get the first point here on circuit. Their own map selection. So NRG, they saw that comp not phased whatsoever. They dealt with it great.
Infected's like, oh, they are never going to let me hear the end of this when I get back to university. Oh, buddy. What is going on with Nightmare? They look so good in that upper bracket. Look what they do to our EMEA #1 team.
Well, you stay on that comp for so long, right? Because you're trying to get some value out of it, right? You're building up tons of ultimates.
Like
You've
the Ryan Bastion setup?
Yeah, they were able to force them back, like underneath that bridge, like pretty early, right? But they were just never able to break on through because once Bastion is, back up and standing, the damage threat's not really scary. But then also you're working down the Rhine shield at the same time. So then they have no Rhine shield and then they have no like Bastion damage. So you just charge them down, right? You feel totally fine.
You guys want some Rack Attack Lifeweaver? I heard you, person in the back. That's one.
It's Cust in the back.
Might just see a life grip on tree here out of spawn and then a switch back. But I'm open for a bit of magic.
we've seen Lifeweaver on defense here, but
we've seen it. We used to see it a lot actually with the Farah comps. Give the Farah a platform so she never has to touch
define
the
a lot.
ground. From Ents a couple times. Yeah. Again, not a lot.
A lot for Lifeweaver.
I'm editorializing. Oh my goodness!
Come on, man.
Oh, they're in trouble, Matt. They're in deep trouble.
Zero just trying to get some damage there at the start.
Oh, you give him that?
Nice headshot there from Tree. They're not like you would have played probably the corner, right? But
Look what the box of victory is.
yeah, you're one fight.
It just denies any potential hold on that first corner. So now Nightmare only have half the opportunities to stop this card. Kellen, big sticky bomb hit there. He's going to back up. Nicely done. Infected deals an Ultraviolet who clearly hovered a little too close to the stun.
That's a huge pick. Just buys a little bit of time. Now allows them to retake this position, right? That they would not have been able to hold after Zero dies early. So that's actually a pretty big pick. Pushes NRG Shock back, allows Nightmare to control some of this space again.
Still have to deal with Seeker's Sojourn at range. And an inherent advantage for the defenders here. So Nightmare able to recover after things looks like they could get a bit out of hand. Remember, only, 4 minutes here for the attack, so wasn't a full completion of this first checkpoint, as you can see, but damn near. Disrupt the shot there for Poke. You see the torpedoes come through as Nightmare get battered up a little bit there.
Just trying to get Kellen into position here to maybe even try and get a knife onto one of the supports or Infected. This was already going to do.
Infected just get caught out there. It might be the Echo coming forward that makes Nightmare afraid. Took back Infected up there. Dupe ends. CJ's at least able to get this orbital ray in and over the fight. But it's a full strength NRG shot coming in, and Admiral is going to go down with the ship, folks. Nothing to be done as NRG claim a comfortable second map.
And that's a brutal loss for Nightmare. You pick that map, you think you have a little bit of a comp at the start that can take advantage, maybe catch Chuck by disguise, and man, I mean, it could not go any better for the Shock dealing with that Bastion comp. I mean, they looked great. Nightmare, like, okay, we're gonna run this, we're gonna catch it by surprise. It did not catch it by surprise. They ran it for a while, and then all of a sudden, you're not even at the first point.
That was their gambit. I mean, that's probably a huge part of the reason why they choose Circuit Royal. But that's a Ryan comp that doesn't have a Symmetra, right? So it's pretty telegraphed. You obviously have the speed boost of the Juno that can get you forward, but ultimately, it is a comp that's trying to take space. It's trying to get Bastion within his optimal range, but Bastion doesn't love going against Sojourner and Echo, really. Like, those are two DPS that tend to outrange him pretty effectively.
And there's like a lot of like natural cover, right? You can just circle the corners there on Circuit. Like, you can just kind of run away, and there's no way that they're going to be able to catch you. And then
Disengage, wait for Wheels mode to expire.
Yeah, exactly.
And obviously so much poke damage available, like up against that Ryan shield. You can obviously farm that as the Sojourn and do a heck of a lot to it. We saw a May Blizzard there that happened midway through, like a pretty messy fight that doesn't really, it's not really of consequence in the end here. And also, Scissors dupes Bastion himself on that Echo and gets 4 kills in his disgusting clip.
It was the best Bastion we had the entire time, was the dupe.
The best we've seen all week, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a sick play. And then here, that was like probably their one opportunity, right? They actually get Kellen early, but you have the rally with the Brig inside of Orbital Ray. It's a raid boss. I mean, there's no way.
They also see Admiral pop that Amp Matrix. So NRG down to 4 players without a tank say, stuff it, we're just going to push into this. We're going to get past this and basically deny that value. This shot from Tree, I mean, look, I mean, you do have to be aware that this is something that attacking teams can do, and it costs them nothing to play Widow for a couple seconds out of spawn to find a pick. That's a big misstep, an error from Zera there in judgment.
It's a big pick, but did you see anything from Nightmare that's like, oh man, yeah, that kind of blew the game? I don't think so.
No,
I think NRG
they were able to
shocked.
stabilize,
They were able to stabilize, right? Right after that, I don't think there's like a, oh man, they would have beat the Shock out of that.
If we're at like Eichenwald or something, it feels a little bit worse, right?
Yeah, I would have felt way worse, right? But here on Circuit, you can get back right into that fight, which they did. They bounced back.
Yeah, big difference here. I mean, that's pretty dominant showing. Only 8 deaths over the entirety of Circuit Royal here for NRG. That is astonishing. It's like 1.5, lost fights, I guess. They really didn't look like they were feeling any pressure at all.
No, I mean, they felt like there was really like no threat, no pressure. You can kind of see it on the stage when you look behind us, like, Rag, he's all smiles, never go on with them. They are unfazed by this match. It seems like almost like two teams, like we obviously don't see scrims, so you don't kind of like see that type of stuff, but like two teams it feels like two teams that know they played each other, and one knows like, hey, we succeed against them a lot, right? And like Shock does not seem bothered by what Nightmare's throwing out.
And again, these two teams, they don't see themselves playing each other in the first 2 games, so they are going to scrim each other a lot in the lead up to the tournament. Like, you're not going to scrim your first round opponent and your likely second round opponent. However, these two teams probably know each other pretty well, so perhaps the new Junk City pick here is not such a shock to NRG. If you'll excuse the pun, as Nightmare look to try and get a foothold in this series. Otherwise, it's elimination for them.
This is a pretty good Queen map, though. Like we've seen teams that want to play the Queen against Malga pick this map to play the Queen, right? So I'm quite interested if the idea here for Nightmare is to match that. Is it to try and force Malga? I feel like this is a map that you can play that Queen with Sombra and be pretty effective.
I feel like we saw Falcons pick this against Twisted Minds yesterday, for example, to just try and deny Labda playing Pharah. And obviously that's when they started to take the series and run away with it. However, both these teams are more, Echo inclined. Nightmare were just saying, oh, you know what? We're gonna mirror this Queen. We're gonna find a way to win in this matchup.
Yeah, now you have the Sojourns in the mix, right? So since the Sojourn's been brought out early on, they've decided to match.
How good is Rack looking today, by the way? Some incredible rally shield bashes in that first map and looks so solid in the second. Match point here for NRG. We're out of the gates for our first flashpoint on New Junk City.
And I think for Nightmare to bounce back in this series, I think you're going to have to see Seeker start to like heat up a little bit, right? Win that long-range battle against Tree. Something's got to go right here for Nightmare early on. I also feel like in terms of like confidence, right? You start to like lose these maps and you're losing them in a brutal fashion, right? To get like ran over here in this first fight, defeat starts to set in.
Derek here goes for a focusing beam. It's just inconsequential damage to start with. Very much just an exchange of pleasantries here. Tree has to slide out of the way there, maybe overextended for just a moment, but the fight's about to transition to the point here. Otherwise, NRG are going to get this for free. There's Speaker. Well, you invoked his name, Matt. You said he had to step up, but falling first to Scissors, whose echo today has been astonishing. Not great news for Nightmare fans, and Zera falls soon after.
Yeah, this is going to be Shock taking point first. They're going to try and move up here a little bit. Yeah, get Tree in position. They were thought maybe you can catch one of those supports on the way out. It looked like Admiral and CJ stayed alive all throughout that, but play a little bit closer to the door here for Shock. Use that Queen to deny the space.
Already up to 28, of course. NRG just pick off both DPS of Nightmare to win that fight out. Nightmare need to find a way back in here. CJ pretty close to that orbital ray. Ultraviolet already has his flight out there, or in rather. Speaker trying to get back to safety, but again, he suffers at the hands of Scissors. Oh, this is ugly.
Yeah, they actually see Seeker get hit by the knife, but the healing doesn't come in fast enough to keep him alive. So, Shock win another fight. That's Scissors duping the Queen yet again. You see Tree. I think he's trying to gain some type of information, right? They're kind of looking over on the stage at the screen to his right. So Scissors kind of playing in a position that they can actually use that screen to look and move in.
Overclock now here. Oh, Kellen gets rid of Seeker again. Something is just not connecting for the Hiscan DPS of Nightmare. Zera at least is able to equalize. Oh, Rack's under some pressure. This is an orbital raid fight, but it's happening off the flashpoint. Nightmare never had a chance to touch.
No, the fight takes so far away from the point, and it's awesome to be here on land, right? Because you can kind of see that where Tree is looking over at Scissors. Scissors is kind of like on an off angle, and then Tree can relate that information over to Kellen, right? And then they come on like a wrap. They know exactly where these players are going to be, and they just kind of catch Nightmare in a position where they're not able to fight for it. But Nightmare here in a better spot. They get to the point first. You have 4 ultimates, right? You need to win this first fight if you're Nightmare. I mean, if you can't win this, it's curtain.
I mean, losing that last one with Orbital Ray committed off the point for Nightmare. It's a pretty grim situation. Zera also waiting in the wings here. Likely? Yeah, it's got to be a Queen dupe, really, if I look over the composition. See what it would be. Poke's going to force NRG Shock back, and there it is. Seeker, okay, gets into the game. Important first pick on Scissors.
Extra support needed.
That's huge. Looks like Shock just going to back out, not fight without that echo. Maybe allow Tree to just kind of like build up some charge on the railgun. Oh, actually, he gets hit with a knife and just dragged back in. So
this is the problem with the Queen comp trying to get through a choke. You are getting spammed down by a lot of these stickies. It's easy to hit a knife. Doesn't matter who you honestly hit with it, as long as you catch them out for long enough for maybe like a focusing being follow-up.
Yeah, then also when you connect with the knife, right, you can kind of calm that. Get everybody. That's going to be a 3-player rampage there as Kellen takes out CJ early.
Yeah, Speaker was hit by that as well, but he's able to recover. He has that overclock and wasn't able to use much of it. Zera dupes the Queen, gets into the thick of things. Infected's the one that goes down there, and Kellen's just holding on. Rack did pop the rally and is able to find a back kill on Admiral here. The Nightmare still have control. Zera wants his health pack now, and he'll get it, but he's under a lot of pressure. And he's going to have to step off here. Man, likely will be brought down.
Dude, Rack and UV have had a great series so far. That time, it's another rally there from Rack Attack, which is huge, keeps a lot of players topped up. Gives enough time for him, Tree, and Ultraviolet to secure the point. Also, while holding on to that orbital ray. So, a huge fight win for the Shock. You lose that one, Nightmare is close to tying it up.
Never forget Ultraviolet's Overwatch League debut, a 5-player Bionade on Eichenwald. He really exploded onto the scene on that Atlanta Reign roster. Now has the experience to carry him through an important elimination match like this one. Zera down early. Tree's able to find that disrupt the shot's coverage. And here's Infected lining one up. It's going to be Kellen, and Scissors affected by it, but Scissors is duped, so he'll pop out of that in a moment. Admiral goes down though. NRG Shock shrug off that rampage, and they keep control.
Yeah, and they're actually just going to keep Infected up here as he takes out Tree.
There's Stagger. Infected doesn't like this.
This will be, I mean, with that stagger, right? Can you even come back and fight this if you're Nightmare? I don't think. I think you're going to have to give this up.
Unlikely.
Yeah, you're going to be far away. Yeah, you're going to be on match flashpoint here for NRG Shock, just like that. It starts off good for Nightmare on that point, then they're not able to get anything going once Shock takes control. Nightmare is in a world of trouble.
What can they work with here? At least have an orbital ray to answer this next fight with. However, the overclock burst damage sometimes can just ignore it. It's 85 health points per second for that Juno ultimate now, down from 100. Still pretty darn good at keeping you nice and healthy. Oh, there it is though. This is what I'm saying. And what a rampage there from Kellen. The catch is beautiful. Infected and CJ just bleed out. I mean, Shock can't do any wrong.
Yeah, Nightmare tries to go aggressive with the Orbital Ray, but then Kellen just uses the Rampage right through. You got an Orbital Ray for UV, and then Tree with the Overclock. You just burn them down. I mean, there's no way you can run into that. And you're just in a really difficult situation, especially, you know, Kellen's Rampage doesn't even need to be awesome, right? Connects with 2-3 players, and you're good to go.
I mean, that is very good against an Echo Sojourn composition, right? And with a Juno as well. Everyone really has personal mobility to get out.
Also, with the way this point is, you're going to take a lot of damage. Let's just kind of moving on to the point, right? So you're not going to get as many shots.
Duke Queen here. Sarah's able to hit the knife as well, causing so many problems for Kellen. And this is house money that he's playing with. Rampage is good too. Rampage doesn't even bother going for the rally.
Yes, that's actually both Rampages used, right? Infected and Zero's there.
Reminds me of duping the Ana for the air bio nade, right?
Yeah, for the air bio and then die.
UV, cheeky.
Yeah, he's gonna get.
Yeah, he's mad at himself about that one.
Yeah, thought he had an opportunity. He actually would have been like right there where Tree and Susan are, right, getting into that position. But that was huge because Shock also had a huge rally advantage. At that point, Rack had it. Admiral was out like 60% or so. So using both those Rampages and then not having the rally on the other side allows him to get to even footing.
Overclock here for Seeker. We saw how big it was for Tree just to cut through that orbital ray healing. Scissors though is on the hunt. Who will it be? Another Queen Duke most likely. No, he has to use it for survivability, but he gets the Queen anyway. Here's that Overclock though for Seeker, but he's trying to play at very, very long range. Scissors stunned up briefly by Admiral's shield bash, and that puts him out of commission. Comes out of Duke and Zera claps him.
Yeah, and it's Scissors. He has to use the Duke just to live there, right? He actually lands some stickies on the Seeker and thinks he can maybe follow it up. And he just takes a boatload of damage when he goes up in the sky. Just has to do whatever he sees in front. So that'll be Nightmare taking a flashpoint. Finally, as they get into this series.
Look, that's good honest Overwatch from Nightmare. They get it done the old-fashioned way. It's a great old economy. And the double rampage definitely didn't hurt. Looks like we're headed over to Bomb Flats for our next battleground. Our fourth flashpoint here in the map. It's an Overclock this time for Tree.
This first fight may end up deciding it, right? Both orbital rays in action.
Okay, Tree pops that Overclock. CJ's got to respect it, but still gets the orbital ray off now. Tree just pot-shotting here into the mix of all of these Nightmare players. And one by one they come down. Seeker at least is able to find a decent pick-off on Ultraviolet, but Tree does not care. He's the one yelling timber.
Yeah, orbital ray used for both teams here, and it's Tree with that Overclock being able to put down so much burst damage. But that's huge, right? With how fast the flashpoints tick up. You know, the next time you're going to see that ultimate, it might be like at the end of the game, right? So being able to use it here, win that first fight, you're going to gain what, 30 or so plus percentage, just off of that massive win there for the Shock.
2 fights, pretty much enough to get a flashpoint here. Kellen, okay, going straight away into this rampage. Zera's going to do to avoid the anti-heal, but CJ and Infected don't have the option. Still, they're able to survive through it until Kellen gets Seeker down. NRG Shock could get another advantage in this fight off the back of a big rampage. Nightmare have to regroup.
And Nightmare's either got to get out or die, right? There's players just kind of staggering out all over the place. And doing a nice job there for Shock chasing him down.
Zera had to dupe there just to survive.
Yeah.
To get rid of that anti-heal and bleed from Kellen's rampage. That's a waste. Not a waste, but it's a loss of ult.
I really like how the Shock has used that rampage, right? It's not been just kind of like waiting for the fight to develop. It's like, okay, we have an idea they're coming from this angle. Like Kellen just kind of go through the door, catch them off guard.
Now the rampage, this time from Infected. Ultraviolet, he's dead. 100% dead. Kellen caught by a knife. He's able to shrug off that anti-heal, but it's a 4-player contingent of NRG Shock that are going to have to concede control of the point for the time being.
Yeah, if you're Shock, jump on, get it to 99, die, you come back, you just need one fight, right? And Nightmare needs to be perfect from here on out to keep themselves alive in this tournament.
I've got a bit to work with. These overclocks have been surprisingly relevant at the start of these fights.
Scissors dupes have been really good, so look to see where they kind of go with this position of the Echo, right? It can cause a lot of chaos.
I think it's another Queen, surely. Would be 2 rampages in this fight, but one might be enough to get it done. Here comes Kellen on the approach. Nice connection there. Rally being held by Admiral. He might need to shut down a Duke's rampage potentially with that stun. Here it is, Shield Batch goes straight on in there. It's going to be Kellen and Rack Attack both stunned up by Admiral there, but it's a trade of kills. Zera goes down, but Seeker with the Overclock is going to keep the dream alive for Nightmare. A win here in this fight, if they can drag it out, means a flashpoint take. And Seeker's looking awful confident. But Infected is down. There might be still more to do now. Oh my goodness, it's Seeker disintegrating. Who's going to benefit from this orbital raid right now? It's unclear. Tree's got to be knocked back here, but Shock still have to fight for this. 3%.
And Shock are pretty healthy here, right? You have Kellen, Tree, and Scissors. Scissors was able to stay alive using the Dupe beds to get it to 99.
Zero's going to be forced back now, but just kept it alive for a time. It does flip. NRG are in control, and here comes a wrecking ball from Infected. Looks to drop in, but Stingjay's already gone down, and Admiral's not far behind him. Rampage weren't even required for Kellen, is at the ready. Seeker the only one kill found here for Nightmare as Kellen looks to clean things up. NRG Shock! Keep the fire burning in this lower bracket. And this is not the NA team we expected to come out of this matchup. Not looking so clean, at least.
Yeah, you expected this to be a really back and forth matchup, but Shock come in today and just display their dominance here over Nightmare. I mean, if there was any question about who the better of these two teams was, it was certainly answered now.
NRG Shock always fighting to beat the perennial underdog allegations. What a match to do it in. Feels obviously bittersweet having to knock out another North American squad.
Does it?
But from the outset,
Probably feels good. It probably feels good.
They're friends. You know what I mean?
Look,
like I said, like Infected literally plays with most of these guys in collegiate. He lives with them.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can be friends, but once you kind of get in the server, there's a little bit of the hug there that's like, hey, you got you.
Wouldn't it be nice? I'd hate to have you on the other side. Yeah. Huh? I think that friendship would dissipate awful quick, man.
Oh yeah. The friendship would just go away instantly. I mean, that's how you have to play on the stage, though, right? I mean, your friends outside and on the stage. You want to make some money. You want to win some games. I mean,
and have a look at that. 3-0 here for NRG Shock. Incredible showing, really. And we got another break from this Mauga setup. I'm really curious to hear about like the decision making and compositions here from NRG. And hey, we've got Tree standing by with an interview here on the stage.
Thank you so much, guys. What an incredible game. Tree, you know, you've been called a prodigy. You've been called the last hope of NA. Those are some ridiculous shoes to fill. Do you feel like pressure from that kind of adoration from the fans, or are you used to it at this point?
I mean, I think the gameplay speaks for itself. You know, at this point, there's nothing to worry about.
All right, well, he's filling the shoes pretty well. I got to ask for you personally, for this team, it's been kind of a wild ride of a season, right? There's been up and down results. You've been through a lot from team to team, but here you are now having the tournament best results so far. How do you look forward to the future? What are your aspirations in this tournament? How far can you see yourselves going?
I mean, I think getting Kellen off ping, and honestly Scissors off ping too, because he's West Coast, is like a big deal for us. That and like with our comp that we kind of found out, it just all sort of clicked at the same time, and like we've been riding the wave since, and like it's gonna keep going and keep going. Every win we play better, and every win we get used to the stage, I think we can only win from here.
You guys are starting to look like a real scary team to go up against. Now, looking ahead to your future opponent, could be Toronto Defiant, could be Twisted Minds. What do you think about those teams? Are you worried about any matchup? Who do you expect to see in that next round?
I hope Toronto wins. I think they definitely will versus Twisted Minds. NA's on top in my opinion right now. But I want that NA rematch. I want that Grand Finals rematch. I want to see Toronto again.
All right, well, you heard it from the prodigy himself. Congrats, Tree. Well done. Looking forward to see what you guys can do in the rest of the tournament. We're going to send it over to the desk.
Thank you so much, Jake.
Thanks, Jake.
Yeah,
Thanks, Jake.
Jake.
I didn't know he was
Jake
doing that.
Jake comes, and now he's on your stage. Jake is everywhere.
He's everywhere. Get him out.
What a guy. Get him out. I'm like complimentary about it. It's like, oh, what a guy. And he's like, get him out, get him out. Well, we got Danny in though, so
yes.
That's a victory for everyone here on the desk. Danny, let's break it all down and talk about how NRG Shock got this one done.
You know, I'm pretty sure I wanted to say this when you were asking like which of the matches is your favorite. I wanted to pick out the NRG one.
Obviously.
Because I mean, let's be honest. We haven't seen, not a lot of teams are running that Queen comp, and right now NRG Shock is killing it with the Queen comp right now. Kellen is looking fantastic. Another great win for the team.
Everyone is just thrilled with NRG. It's easily becoming everyone's favorite team in the tournament. And we're actually getting a lot of cheers from the audience too. Whenever NRG plays, and look, they're looking real good.
Yeah.
They're looking real good on this composition. And especially, I want to highlight the backline. Of course, Matt and Mitch, they already did highlight the backline throughout the game. You know, Rack Attack, he had a couple of great moments like this one, you know, stunning Infected out of the Rampage. But in general, I think they do really well in the neutral game. They do great with their positioning and their rotations. And when everything clicks for the backline of NRG, the rest kind of like falls into place, because I think it's fair to say that the past year, the backline has been the most criticized out of NRG. Specifically, I think Rack Attack has been under a lot of pressure to live up to the likes of Ultraviolet, Tree, and even Kellen at times, right? But now we're seeing Rack Attack really come into this brig role, having a lot of big, impactful moments, and it makes it so much easier for the rest of the team. So I was really impressed by how they're kiting Nightmare in these situations. They're sometimes allowing Nightmare to take positioning on the map, and then they'll say, okay, you guys have positioning, now we're going to rotate, we're going to flip the map and put Kellan in a pretty safe position where he can play with the adrenaline rush, get healing from his bleeding abilities, of course, and then everything falls to play. Tree is popping off in the Sojourn role as well. So this is a team of NRG that has really found their composition. They found their playstyle, and they are excelling.
And we're looking at it right now. MVP, Rack Attack. Do it for Rack Attack.
How often do we get a brig MVP?
Are we doing it for Rack Attack?
So here's the thing. All year long, we asked the teams to do it for Rack Attack, but the real success is when Rack Attack does it for himself.
There you go.
That's how he gets himself that MVP honor for this match.
Yeah, I mean, an unbelievable performance from Rack Attack, and especially here on the brig as well. This is a guy who is so committed to the game. We saw in the Overwatch League last year, just like so frustrating for him to not be able to get any of those wins, right? And then again, it's been like a grueling year for this roster who started out as students of the game, later got picked by NRG Shock, and a lot of pressure to fill in for the reputation of the Shock, right? Finally flourishing here in Stockholm, and what a performance here at this event out of all of them.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say it. I think NRG Shock is my favorite team.
There we go. There you have it. This is how quickly he abandons SSG. Just yes.
Who? SS who?
Are you facing Cloud?
SS Shock? Wait, I don't know. I only know Energy Shock. I don't know. SSG is dead, Jim. You know, that's how it goes. You win some, you lose some. You lost Danny as a super fan, but Energy Shock is not just winning matches, but also Danny's favorite. Let's take a look at that bracket to see where we're currently at as we're fighting our way through those lower bracket matches. It's brutal. This is day 2, and we're saying goodbye to 3 teams today. So yeah, obviously a heartbreaker, but still, you have to give credit where credit is due. Nightmare did a phenomenal job. Heading into this event, I don't think people had them on their radar. They were an underdog team, and I think they most likely have succeeded expectations from most of the fans.
Yeah, I mean, a dark horse in the tournament overall, but they did look really good on that Mauga composition.
Right.
Up until they ran up into NRG, of course.
Listen.
Yeah, also, and then just taking NRG to their game. I mean, they had to use the Joker Queen comp as well, and you know they tried their best. Of course, they did fail, but at the same time, you know, huge ups for them. They tried their best, made their best efforts to get the win.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta be kicking yourself a little bit because NRG is a team you probably feel like you can beat as well. You had a pretty frustrating Circuit Real looking up with the Reinhardt and the Bastion, and it just didn't work. The execution just wasn't there, right? So
map picks, were they perhaps a little risky? Obviously, loser map pick here, so some come in with some pretty specific game plans. Do you feel like maybe there were a few too many risks taken by now?
I mean, look, the Circuit Real pick, the Circuit Real picks looked bad in hindsight because you got first point held, right? You know, I think they struggled a little bit with the execution with the Reinhardt and Bastion. Maybe activated Wheels mode a bit too early, and it was too easy for NRG to kite. But, you know, there's opposite side of the coin. If they'd looked good on the Reinhardt, then, yeah, of course, you know, you would have been pretty happy with the Circuit Real pick. I think for New Junk City, it's a Junker Queen kind of mirror. It works for both Junker Queen teams. It's a map they've historically liked. You know, we saw against Toronto Defiant in Stage 4, of course. So I don't mind the map picks too much. They took a risk on Circuit Real. Sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't.
Put that on a t-shirt. Ain't that the truth? Now, that concludes our first lower bracket match, and we'll be diving into a second one very soon. But first, after just a quick break, we have a special treat for you because Jaws gets to play Overwatch, not with us.
Oh, no.
We're just like side characters. We're bringing in the main characters. That's right. The voice actresses of no other than Sombra, Symmetra, and Brigitte will be joining us here on the desk for a game of Overwatch with Jaws. You don't want to miss that. So stick around, and we see you on the other side.